You know, that still might not take us where we want to go to, because it seems as if deja vu, we've seen that before. Mm-hmm. We've always planned, we've always had all of this from day one till this very moment. But shouldn't we be talking about ground rules for any of all these plans? Do we always put the ground rules before we set off?
You're correct there. The major part of the ground rule, okay, is not to start building from the roof, which is the federal level. And so you have primary healthcare development agency driving primary healthcare, which is something that should be happening in your village. It shouldn't cost or obtain. That agency should commit corporate suicide. All the money that federal government spends on primary healthcare, for instance, should go to the primary provider in your village.
The local government.
And to the primary provider in your village, not even the local government. Even the local government contribution should go to the primary provider covering, or maybe one primary provider will be covering 1,000 people. So he knows when the children are born. And if you invest on that primary provider, he then provides adequate care. Primary health care is an individual provider. It's not an institutional provider like the governor was saying that they build things all over the place. You don't need to build anything. You only need 2 rooms with a knowledgeable provider looking after maybe 1,000 people, 2,000 people, depending on the available. Then you expand later on. That is reduce the number. So it is that primary provider that all the money should go to. And then the community will bring some people to assist him in a committee to manage that money and be sure that it's not stolen. But right now, all the money for primary health care dissipates between the federal and the point. By the time it gets to where our people go to, there is nothing to provide the care. The same thing with the primary education. Okay, there is no chalk to teach. People are only struggling with paying salary. You remember the school
you think that's a function of structure?
You see, the key issue in development is that one, process is quality control. If you have your process wrong, what will come out at the end is wrong. And if you have your process wrong, your structure will be wrong, like our structures are wrong. Okay? And so both organization, design, the structure that follows it, and the processes, the systems and processes that we design for them are wrong, because we are not doing the correct thing.
Now, the focus mostly, it would seem, has been with governments, and even though we're yet to exhaust that conversation in terms of, you know, public sector. Yeah. Yesterday, Mr. Ban Ki-moon also met with the private sector, private sector and philanthropy, and you also did hear the governor talk about how, you know, Bill and Melinda Gates was cooperating with them, and they also must meet their own side of the agreement. Yeah. What role do you think the private sector has to play in this?
The private sector is the major engine for development, as we say it. But the private sector is controlled, should be controlled by the public sector. The public sector should just be a referee, a regulator, and an organizer that makes things flow normally and support, you know, production of human capital, quality human capital. Okay, but where governments keeps thinking it has to employ in order to provide employment, it's a waste of our money. At the end of the day, it's destructive. Okay, so we need to embark on proper training. The kind of children coming out of the secondary school you investigated in KB the other time, okay, it cannot support private sector. If you look at it now, let's say, for example, if government using a significant part of the budget can stimulate private sector activities at the rural areas in small bits, just like they do in other economies that have developed. Okay, let's take in India, for example, a modern development system. They broke up the areas in different zones and started industrialization for Chennai, all the different zones of India, and focused on getting people to develop certain productive capacity, mini ones, medium ones, and mega ones, okay, depending on a plan. You see, that way you take away the public servants from the major thrust of the development process. However, as long as we continue to do the way we are doing, we'll continue to remain in the gutter.
So it doesn't mean that we're suffering from lack of vision. We've always had good vision and plan.
Yeah, no, it is not. Everybody has a vision to develop.
So do we make it a national one?
But what we are saying about national strategic vision is a different thing from visioning for development alone. A national strategic vision creates a nation that has a character of its own.
Have we always had
it creates the DNA of the country. Nigeria has never had a DNA for Nigeria. For example, if you go a little bit below the national level to say major ethnic levels, they have DNAs. Okay, the Southwest has a wonderful DNA. Okay, you know, development. Okay, and let people develop at their own pace. That's their DNA for and vision for Nigeria. Okay, assuming that we all adopted that, to develop would be our core goal. And so anything deviating from development, okay, would be anathema. Okay, so we need to look at that composite that is Nigerian. Okay, at which level there is no ethnicity, no religion, no crime, and everything is pure. That is the national DNA.
You know what comes to mind now is the attention I'm getting to see that the nation is getting. For the first time, we're getting what you would want to call an unprecedented attention from all corners.
Yes.
How can this be sustained and
utilized? Yeah. The key thing in utilizing this and going forward, in the attention we are getting, is total definition of the center point and focus of development for any success. That is the individual leader. We are getting this attention because of the character that Buhari has shown. So everybody is hoping that there is opportunity for tremendous change. Okay? So the UN Secretary General and all these other people, US government and other people, the East and the West, who are showing interest in us, if they look at you from outside and they think you are a bunch of kleptomaniacs, they'll be playing normal lip service of diplomacy. Now that there is somebody who has come out and has the character and the tested integrity to move forward with sacrificial heroism again, because he's not interested in personal aggrandizement and what his family is getting, okay, everybody should now focus. We should now, as Nigeria, okay, calm down, and government has a role here because it's government that gets into the brain box of people. Remember, before the Second World War, US made the world to love Germany and Japan. During the Second World War, they made the world to hate Germany and Japan. After the Second World War, they turned around to make the world to love Germany and Japan and hate Russia and China that were their friends during the war. So the management of human psyche and spirit, okay, is in the hands of government. That is why the UN is partnering with you to drive these processes so that it's you people who handle it. But for you people to handle it correctly, you have to have a commitment to that great national strategic vision, because it is commitment to that vision that makes everybody work towards it.
And we have to get that vision, you say, first and foremost,
crystallize and put into a message that everybody can understand everywhere and sell it.
Could you talk a little more?
It is sellable.
Talk a little more about how we need to get that national vision such that you say no religion, no ethnicity. How do we achieve that?
Well, the point in getting that now is getting our national leader, President Buhari, to buy into the creation of this national strategic vision of a great democratic country under the rule of law with full employment. Because the processes and systems of achieving it solves all the problems. All these things that all the 17 new sustainable development goals will fall in place because they are just mainly targets and indicators of development anywhere, okay, except when they were talking about environment and other things, which you know that when you are developing rapidly, you abuse the environment a little bit, but that is just what they call collateral damage. Now, so the key,
which is what it was saying the UN is not agreeing with.
Yeah, the UN is an umpire. So
exactly.
so they will say nice things. The UN will say nice things. That is just being nice. You are going to toast a guy. You are not going to start worrying about the village he comes from. She comes from.
I mean, in the dream of the UN or in the vision of the UN, you know, sometimes people think that some of the things that they wish for, or some of the things they wish to achieve, are utopian.
Of course, of course. The UN is a utopian platform. The UN was not set up as a development agency. The UN was set up as a platform to bring peace between superpowers after the Second World War, to be a platform from where people can mediate and tone down the rhetorics that lead to war.
And that's why, you know, when he was speaking...
So it has to work on utopia. It has to work on the utmost platform.
Ideals.
It's like the religious ideal. Okay. But the human beings who drive the religion will sin occasionally due to the flesh.
Okay, so in the meeting with private sector, you know, you kept on getting that talk about they're moving to sustainable development goals now, and they're talking about climate change, bridging the inequality gap, and I'm wondering,
it's not the business of private sector to bridge inequality gap. The inequality gap even is widest in the greatest economy in the world, in the US. If you see the black poor in America and the wealthy in America, the bridge cannot be reduced in this our lifetime. However, the private sector is supposed to introduce measures that give people fair opportunity in life, okay, within their organizations, and promote that in society. Okay, so that it is not buccaneering in the private sector.